They told you to be quiet, not always with words, but with looks, with doubt, with silence that felt louder than insults. They questioned your pace, your choices, your worth. Sometimes they disguised it as concern. Sometimes it came as comparison. And sometimes, if we're honest, the loudest voice came from inside your own head. Here's the truth we don't talk about enough. Success is not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself faithful to who you said you would be when things got hard. Success is often misunderstood. Many people think it's about proving someone wrong, about loud declarations and dramatic gestures that force the world to acknowledge your worth. But the truth is far more subtle and far more powerful. Real success doesn't come from noise or retaliation. It comes from quiet discipline. It's the kind of work that happens when no one is watching, the kind of effort that doesn't need validation or applause to feel meaningful. It's showing up day after day, even when progress feels invisible, even when doubts whisper that it might not be worth it. Quiet discipline is about commitment to yourself first. It's about honoring the promises you make to your own growth, rather than reacting to someone else's opinions or judgments. It's waking up early to do the work because you know it matters, not because anyone else will notice. It's choosing to practice, to study, to improve, to endure even when the rewards are delayed. This is the kind of success that doesn't depend on external approval, it depends on the integrity of your effort. It is steady, patient, and often unglamorous, but it builds a foundation that loud gestures can never achieve. Loud revenge is tempting. It promises instant satisfaction, the thrill of proving someone wrong, of silencing critics with your victories, but it is fleeting. Achievements built on anger or the desire to retaliate rarely last, because they are tied to someone else's perception, not your own purpose. They burn quickly, leaving behind emptiness or the constant need to prove yourself again. Success that is reactionary is never fully yours, it belongs to the narrative of others. Quiet discipline, on the other hand, is self-owned. It's about cultivating resilience and patience. It's about knowing that effort compounds over time, that small, consistent steps create momentum that cannot be ignored. It's about showing up when it's inconvenient, when it's hard, when no one is applauding. This kind of success doesn't need noise to justify itself. Eventually, your results will speak for you, not as a shout, but as an undeniable presence. The quiet power of your discipline, your focus, and your consistency will communicate far more than any argument or boast ever could. It is through this patience and intentionality that real, lasting success emerges, one that doesn't just prove something to the world, it proves everything to yourself. Commitment is often mistaken for recognition. We live in a world that equates visibility with value, applause with achievement, and acknowledgement with success. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for someone to notice our effort, to affirm our choices, or to validate our path. But true commitment doesn't depend on external approval. It thrives in silence, in persistence, in showing up even when no one is watching. It is a promise to yourself that you will keep moving forward, regardless of who is cheering or who is doubting. When you tie your commitment to validation, you give your power away. You make your persistence conditional on others' opinions. You risk quitting too soon because someone failed to recognize your effort or because their judgment made you question your worth. Real commitment doesn't rely on being seen. It relies on being faithful to the work itself. It's about honoring your own standards, your own integrity, and your own vision. It's choosing the path that aligns with your values, even when the world doesn't notice, even when success feels invisible. This is where the difference between performative effort and authentic commitment lies. Performative effort is motivated by the expectation of applause, likes, or recognition. Authentic commitment is motivated by purpose. It's motivated by a deep understanding that the work you are doing matters, to your growth, to your vision, to your own sense of integrity. You show up because you said you would. You persevere because your goals are bigger than the temporary satisfaction of being seen or acknowledged. Commitment without validation is not easy. It requires patience and resilience. It requires trusting the process when immediate results or praise are absent. It means valuing progress over perfection and effort over attention. And the paradox is that when you stop seeking validation, your work becomes stronger. Your focus sharpens, your consistency deepens. You become less swayed by criticism, less distracted by comparison, and more grounded in your own purpose. Ultimately, the most powerful work you do is often invisible. The person you become in the quiet moments of dedication, the skills you build in uncelebrated practice, the resilience you cultivate when no one is watching, these are the things that shape lasting success. Validation is fleeting, applause is temporary, but your commitment is enduring. When you learn to be committed without needing anyone else's approval, you step into a space of true power and freedom. Your dedication becomes unstoppable because it no longer depends on anything outside of you. Courage is often misunderstood. Many think it is the absence of fear, a heroic leap into the unknown, or a dramatic stand in the face of danger. But real courage is quieter, more subtle, and far more demanding. True courage is staying. It's choosing to remain when every part of you, every doubt and fear, whispers that it would be safer, easier, and less painful to walk away. It is the willingness to sit with uncertainty, discomfort, and resistance without fleeing, because you know the path forward requires endurance, not escape. Doubt is a constant companion on the journey toward meaningful growth. It questions your worth, your capability, your purpose. It tells you that you're not ready, that you'll fail, or that someone else would be better suited to your dreams. It is tempting to listen to these whispers because staying often means confronting vulnerability, facing criticism, and wrestling with the unknown. But courage doesn't mean silencing doubt, it means acknowledging it and continuing anyway. It is the ability to feel fear and resistance and choose to act in spite of it. Staying takes integrity. It is a commitment to yourself and your vision, even when the outcomes are uncertain. It is choosing to honor your promises to your own growth, your values, and your purpose. When doubt wants you gone, it is easy to rationalize quitting, to find excuses that sound logical but are rooted in fear. Courage is resisting that impulse. It's recognizing that progress, transformation, and success rarely happen in comfort zones. They happen when you persist through resistance, when you hold space for growth even in moments of uncertainty. The people who achieve lasting change are not those who never feel fear, they are those who remain present despite it. They embrace the tension, the struggle, and the discomfort as part of the process, knowing that each moment of perseverance strengthens resilience. Courage is not flashy, it is patient. It is the quiet, steady decision to keep showing up, keep learning, and keep moving forward when quitting would be easier. When you choose to stay, you claim ownership of your journey. You honor the effort, the vision, and the potential within you. You demonstrate that doubt will not dictate your actions, that fear will not define your path. Staying in the face of doubt is a declaration that you trust yourself enough to endure, enough to persist, and enough to see the work through. This is the essence of courage, less about dramatic heroics and more about steadfast commitment to the person you are becoming. Not everyone wants you to succeed. It's an uncomfortable truth, but one that we rarely admit aloud. People around you, friends, colleagues, even family, may have agendas, fears, or insecurities that make your growth feel threatening to them. Some may consciously try to undermine your progress, while others do so unconsciously through doubt, criticism, or comparison. Understanding this doesn't make it easier to face, but it does give you clarity. Your journey is yours alone, and the approval of others is not a requirement for your success. This reality can sting because we naturally seek connection and validation. We want to be celebrated, supported, and recognized. But when we tie our worth or our persistence to the desire for others to root for us, we hand over power we should be keeping. Not everyone wanting you to win is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of their own limitations, insecurities, or discomfort with change. People often project their fears onto those around them, and your growth can unintentionally trigger their own sense of inadequacy. Recognizing this allows you to separate your purpose from their opinions. It is liberating to realize that you don't need universal approval to move forward. Some of the loudest critics in your life may never understand your vision, your pace, or your choices. And that's okay. Their reluctance or resistance does not diminish your potential or your capacity to succeed. In fact, it can sharpen your focus. When you stop trying to please everyone or seeking validation from those who are unwilling to support you, you free up energy to devote entirely to your own growth and integrity. Your commitment to yourself becomes stronger when you accept this truth. You begin to see criticism or resistance not as a personal attack, but as a signpost of where your courage and persistence are required. You learn to distinguish between constructive feedback that guides your journey and unnecessary noise that distracts from it. The people who truly matter, those aligned with your values and vision, will support and celebrate your progress, but you cannot rely solely on them for motivation. Accepting that not everyone wants you to win is empowering. It teaches resilience, self-reliance, and focus. It invites you to define success on your terms and to pursue it without apology. The path to growth is rarely universally applauded, and that's exactly what makes it transformative. Your victories are yours to claim, your effort yours to honor, and your journey yours to own, regardless of who cheers, who doubts, or who hopes you falter. Consistency is a quiet force that speaks louder than any argument ever could. It doesn't rely on words, explanations, or justifications. It doesn't need applause, approval, or validation. Instead, it shows up day after day, through effort and action, proving truths that no amount of debate or persuasion could ever establish. People may doubt you. They may question your abilities, your commitment, or your worth. They may even try to tell a story about you that isn't true. But when you respond with consistent action, when your work, integrity, and persistence become unshakable, lies and misconceptions are revealed for what they are: empty noise. Arguments can feel satisfying in the moment. They give the illusion of control, the temporary thrill of defending yourself, and the hope that you can change someone else's perception with words. But words alone rarely change beliefs, especially those that are rooted in assumption, fear, or judgment. Actions, on the other hand, have a permanence that arguments lack. Consistency builds credibility, trust, and undeniable evidence over time. It demonstrates character in a way that words cannot. It proves that your values are not performative and that your commitment is not conditional. Consistency requires patience and humility. It means continuing to work, grow, and pursue your goals even when recognition is absent or when progress seems invisible. It is about trusting the process, even when others doubt you or your path. Each small, repeated effort compounds into momentum. Each choice to show up strengthens not only your skill, but also your confidence, your resilience, and your integrity. Over time, the results speak for themselves. People cannot argue with the reality of your persistence, your growth, or your achievements. This principle applies to every area of life: relationships, career, personal development, and self-respect. When you respond to doubt or criticism with consistent action rather than reactionary words, you maintain your energy, focus, and clarity. You avoid the trap of engaging in unproductive conflict, and instead, you let your life tell the truth. Consistency transforms skepticism into respect, criticism into understanding, and doubt into acknowledgement. Ultimately, consistency silences lies not because it shouts, but because it endures. It doesn't need to explain itself. It simply proves itself through steady effort and unwavering commitment. Over time, the narrative that others try to create about you collapses under the weight of reality. By choosing consistent action over defensive argument, you not only build the life you desire, you also demonstrate the truth of who you are in a way that no words ever could. The most powerful response to doubt, criticism, or skepticism is not found in words, explanations, or attempts to prove yourself. It is found in who you become. People will talk, judge, and project their fears onto you. They may try to define your limits or question your choices. But the truth is, transformation and growth are the most undeniable answers. When you dedicate yourself to becoming the person you were meant to be, your actions, your character, and your accomplishments communicate far more than any argument ever could. Becoming your best self is not about revenge or proving anyone wrong. It is about showing up fully, consistently, and courageously in alignment with your own values and purpose. Every time you choose persistence over quitting, integrity over compromise, and growth over comfort, you shape a version of yourself that is powerful, resilient, and unshakable. This is the kind of presence that cannot be ignored or dismissed. It doesn't need applause to validate it. It simply exists, undeniable and compelling. The journey toward becoming your best self is rarely easy. It involves facing fears, embracing vulnerability, and confronting the discomfort of change. There will be moments when the world doubts you, when others question your choices, and when your own inner critic threatens to pull you back. But in those moments, the decision to continue, despite uncertainty and resistance, is what transforms you. Every small, deliberate choice compounds over time, shaping habits, values, and resilience that no words can replicate. This transformation also serves as a mirror to the world. When people see your consistency, your courage, and your integrity, it challenges their assumptions and reshapes their perception. They may have tried to define you by their limitations or opinions, but the reality of who you become speaks louder than any narrative they could create. It is subtle, yet undeniable. It is quiet, yet powerful. It does not need to prove anything. It simply exists, a living testament to what dedication, courage, and self-respect can create. Ultimately, who you become is your most authentic and lasting form of influence. While criticism fades and words are forgotten, the person you grow into leaves a permanent mark on the world and on those around you. By committing to your growth, by choosing resilience and integrity, you create a life that answers doubt, defies limitation, and inspires possibility. Transformation is your response, and it is louder, clearer, and more profound than any argument, any defense, or any attempt to convince. It is the living proof that you are capable, committed, and unstoppable.